ray. Next one. So then we are having a close by paddy. So we have dated that paddy that goes to 1155 BCE. So the paddy date alone it goes there. So the agricultural production already started and we are having a keep large number quantity of iron pieces. Then also white painted black and red ware. In one of the grave we have collected a sample. Next one. This all iron object we collected. Next one. So next. So this one we carefully have collected the charcoal sample and the charcoal sample has been sent to Sivagalai. So about 9 months, almost 1 year, we got the date of 3345. See, we are so much afraid to declare that date because only one date was there at the time. So we told to the higher authorities, this is not fair as an archaeologist to declare this date because unless otherwise you are having a series of dates. Then they said that, okay, let us go for a series of dates. Then immediately we collected samples from there and we got series of date. Next one. From this one, we collected also the samples. This is the paddy. Next one. So then we started collecting the dates and now 2953, 3345 and also 2480 and also 3259, 2004, everything is about 2500 BC. So we informed to the higher authorities that now it is safer since you are having 8 dates, not only from Sivagalai, we are having from Adichanallur. And so that now it is safer to place the iron, introduction of iron in South India between 2500 to 3000 BC. That will be more safer for academic community. Then we have next one. Then what after that, we were very much worried whether there is any laboratory error is there, then we will trouble. So what we requested. Dr. Mortaki from SIP, right now he is here, and also Dr. Chauhan, Naveen Chauhan from PL. Let us have a OSL date. We have sent the on sample to BSIP. We got the date, same date almost. And after that we told that still we want to confirm. Then we have sent it to our PRL, same sample. Not another piece, the same piece we have sent it to PRL. We got the same date. You can have the date there, 2480 and this is 2380. So plus or minus 400 is there. So almost all the date confirms. If that still let us wait. Let us have some one more dot like a thorium and uranium. So I requested him to send it to Calcutta. And actually the machine is down. So we till date we have could not able to get the date. Otherwise, in future we may get it. And further it may consolidate or it may ask to revise us. We revise the date. So then we have a series of date from Sivagalai alone. So we are so confident that now it is better to declare the result as a taxpayer's money I am spending. So it is my duty to carry to the journal. So when I am supposed to publish this material in a journal, then our higher authorities told, no, we will declare. So that is the way today it has been declared. So we are waiting for the past 6 months. And I hope that after all the scholars, I have sent the confidential report to them to go through that, to give your suggestion, so that whether I can move forward or not to move forward, let us take a safer side. Next. So then issue has come. You are getting a date from a finished product, whatever it may be in Adichanallur or Sivagalai or Mailadumbarai. Where is the production center? So we identified the complete iron ore sites, and wherever you are having that production centers, but still we have not dated, but we have identified on ground. So then I have going through Dr. Dilip Chakravarti's article. At that time, he has given a complete list of colonial rulers, scholars who have visited the site, and they have documented. In the documented, they were clearly mentioned there are 2 types of furnaces. One furnace is out of magnetite ore, that is Salem region and like Hyderabad and Salem region, Telangana region and all. Another one is from laterite. In Kerala, we are having both, laterite also. So I believe that the Pandya dynasty or Chola dynasty, where they are getting this much of iron objects and weapons. So for that, then we are surveying the entire Pudukkottai region and also Sivaganga region. And there we are having a plenty of iron ore site, iron smelting furnaces. Then there are two type of furnaces already reported by earlier scholars. That is, one is above the ground and is a little bit about 1 meter high. And another one is something one which is intact. And you can see that it is in the Perangalur near Pudukkottai. So there they are putting iron ore and they are extracting in the earlier system of magnetic ore. In the case of laterite, they are stirring inside and they are removing. That all documented by the colonial scholars. So we are having hundreds of tubers also, the places. So now it is our duty or our aim, our objective, that we have to excavate some iron ore site or iron furnace wherever it is there, that has to be dated. So that it will be still safer for us to carry forward of this research of iron technology. Next one. This is Kodumanal. Actually, that is the crucible furnace. So far, we are having several crucibles, but the earliest one, dated one, is that 480 BCE. So this is a 480 BCE of Kodumanal crucible furnace. So this all shows that there is the process is a continuous process that is happening in iron ore region. Next one. So that finally we thought that introduction of iron is only 1800, 1300, 1200. It is series of dates are there. However, in India, the date goes back to 3000 BCE. So that is, but leaving alone this 3400, which is a metric iron, that smelting iron date goes back to 3000 BC. Next one. So then we have, because along with the iron, we are also having I-10 brands. Thanks to Dr. Shada Srinivasan and a series of scholars were doing like a Kalpakam. They have done XRF analysis and they clearly told that it is I-10 brands. But we are also getting date for that grave also. So I-10 brands also goes back. So we are in the copper age or in iron age or we are in between. That all confusion comes in when we are getting the I-10 bronze age. So we have started looking into that also. Next one. These are the objects we are getting. You can see that one, it is coming from Adichanallur. And that one is coming from different sides. Like a Mahuzugari also we are having. And we are having ROL. And we are having several places, we are having identical objects. But the issue is that these all objects are finished product. Nothing of any production has taken place in these sites. So we believe that all these bronze objects would have been imported from other regions. Then from where? Though only the identical object we get from Mahuzugari. So whether in that area or through Mahuzugari, it has reached to South India, or actually like Ian Glover and other people are having that concept that it came from Thailand, Swarnabhumi, that still we could not able to establish. But however, we are trying our level best to metallurgical analysis first we have to do. Same metallurgical analysis, whether it is in Thailand or within India, we are having. After that, we can come to a conclusion. I think Dr. Shada Srinivasan can express on this fact. Next one. Then, Electricity Board actually clearing some of the areas. At that time, there are few pieces of highly I-10 bronze, very polishing one we got, like a northern black polished ware. Whether it is a ceramic or it is a I-10 bronze, even that I don't know. So we have first sent it to Dr. Alok Kanagu from IIT Gandhinagar. Then we got it confirmed it is I-10 bronze. So then we thought that some of the burials have been exposed. Then we requested our archaeological officers, Dr. Vasanta Kumar, and we told that immediately you can do some work on that. So in one of the disturbed urn burial, There also we are having a bowl with height in bronze. Then Sivakalai also, we are having height in bronze on the right side, you could see that. So the series of height in bronze bowls were coming from Tamarapanni River Valley and other sites also. So this metallurgy or metal, that either iron or height in bronze, that has to be tackled now. Height in bronze, we are having little date and some analysis also going on, and we do hope that in future some more data will come up. Next one. So yeah, I am showing you the first one from Auroville, and second one is Adichanallur, third one is Solapuram. All the three is identical. The left side, the right side, like Adichanallur, Dr. Rabi Mohanty has already published Magarjuari. So that also identical. So the supply chain is there already. The implication is that the north and the south already well integrated, even around 2500 BC itself, fully integrated, because we are having carnelian beads, we are having agate, we are having lapis lazuli, we are having copper objects, and we are having height in bronze, and we are some other organic material also would have been there, but we are not heading in the excavation. All this scenario is emphasizes that only that the early historic period or just before the early historic period we are having trade routes and state formation, all that we have to rethink about it, and even by 2500 BC itself is well integrated as on today the evidences suggest. Next one. And the site Adichanallur, you can having the date. Next one. And this is height in bronze. One step back. Yeah. That 1441 BCE, now height in bronze. It means almost middle of second millennium BC. In India, we are having a height in bronze. So it is very clear now. The picture is emerging, and also in future excavation also further it will consolidate. Next one. And if you take the introduction of bronze in the world, it is starting from 2700 BC down to Indus up to almost 3rd millennium BC or say 3000 BC. So in India, the metal age, whether it is north of Vindhyas or south of Vindhyas, the entire peninsular India, where you are having the like Telangana, Hyderabad region, there you are having that steel also has later on it has been produced very well there, and also the Salem region where you are having big iron ores. So these zones will be having iron ore zones. So we will be having more number of iron objects and also iron production centers. In the case of north of Vindhyas, we are having Chalcolithic age or copper age. There also we will get large number of, but only the problem is tin is from Rajasthan area, the tin plus copper. But the issue is that neither in Indus nor in our Malwa, where Malwa or Jorwe or Aghar or any cultural sequence, these type of object we are not getting. So the production center must be somewhere, but they would have supplied. But from where? Still that answer has to be tackled in the future. I think future generation will answer to these all questions. Next one. And we are having a series of iron yielding sites. So the Brahmagiri already crossed 2000, and also Gachipoli by Dr. K.P. Rao, already it is crossed 2200. It is not only in Tamil Nadu alone, it is isolated and it has suddenly all iron technology is emerged. That is not correct. Actually, it is the entire South India will be having. The only thing we have done more excavation, they are having less excavation. That is the only difference rather than telling that. So the date, it may give us some confidence to our neighboring states that they will also get it. Next one. So this Kumandagali, all the series of dates I have first collected and I have mapped all those dates. Next one. So this is Vallam. Already we are having Vallam, all of the dates we are having up to Sivakalai, we have given that. Not only one date, the series of dates are there. What we wish to say that one. Next one. These are the 4 dates that goes beyond almost 2500 BC and above. So the 2427 to 2450, 459 and 2522 and 2953. Not from single site, multiple site. Not from single technique, multiple technique. So this is one of the reasons that is giving confidence. So the two dates which we are having, 3,259 and 3,345, I was so reluctant even to declare that date, but still people are telling it is after all it is academic community. Whatever the data you received from the laboratory, you place it before the academic community, let them discuss, and we will come to a conclusion. And after that, we will move forward. That is the main reason we requested you. You can express your views and suggestion, anything, that we will take it as a positive one. And any criticism, positive or negative, I will not take it to my heart. I will take it to my brain only. So I need not to bother about that one. Any number of criticism, I welcome it, because your criticism alone will help me to move in a right path. Next one. So the recent excavation in Sevagalai, Adichanallur, Mailadumparai, the introduction of iron in India goes back to the last quarter of 3rd millennium BC. So the series date given. And based on the above inferences, one could safely place the introduction of iron in South India, particularly in Tamil Nadu, because the date is here, between 2500 BC to 300 BCE. So as an academician, I would like to place this iron between 2500 to 3000 BC. So future dates may tilt in either way. And however, two dates, as I told you, fall in the early part of 4th millennium BC, what it has been declared on the days. Next one. So, but yet to metallurgical analysis of iron object from the excavated site and future excavation in iron ore bearing zones will further consolidate these findings with more clarity and authenticity. Let us hope and wait for future discoveries or evidences. Next. So it is whatever we do not want to claim that we have achieved so much. Whatever the knowledge we are having at the moment, with my 30 to 35 years of experience, 1% of the knowledge of archaeology. So in this potential of this great nation and heritage, we have to work hard, and we have to put more resources in this direction, and let us hope for the positive future. Next one. So I am a team member, and I have exploited the knowledge from all my archaeological officers. They have done the great work in the field. So I am only on behalf of them, I am making this presentation. It is not Rajan's work. Actually, several director of excavation, they worked very hard in the excavation. On behalf of them, I think I request you to congratulate that people actually really working as field officers, and because of them, we could able to recreate it. So several archaeological officers were tirelessly working. Still they are working in the field. So as a team leader, I am making this presentation. So nothing more than that. Next one. There are several scientists also, like Venkatesh and Dr. Manaka, Dr. Alok Kumar Kanandu, Dr. Motagi, Dr. Ravin Chauhan, Dr. Priyanka Singh, Malika Singhal, Sarada Srinivasan, Jamsik Park, and Dr. Muthi. Several scientists also helped. So all the credit has to go to them. Actually, really. Next one. So these all institutions also has helped a lot. Next one. So this presentation is dedicated to our ministers who has supported financially, and also Principal Secretary who actually directed us, giving a direction, and all archaeological officers, scholars and students who deserve the fruits of this research. Not Rajan alone will be responsible for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Rajan. I think most
Tamil Nadu, particularly within Tamil Nadu, what I am telling. The northern part of Tamil Nadu, you are getting microlithic, Neolithic, and Iron Age. When I go to southern Tamil Nadu, like Therur Valley or Sivagalai, whatever the site we are getting microlithic, then we are coming to Iron Age. The vertical cultural sequence will not fit into Indian subcontinent. So you should have a micro-regional studies, and based on that, you have to reconstruct your past. And secondly, Dr. Selvakumar has recently excavated Molapalayam. There he got the date, a Neolithic settlement, and there the date is very 1600 and also. So that what it shows that when the one places where you are having the evolved cultural sequence, and another remote places, still people are continuing same type. So the entire Indian culture is having a uniformity.
Are amazed to note that so many discoveries can be made
even today,
by a single State Department. Because State Departments usually don't have
cultural
very good track record.
impact. So
as most of us know.
so we have to have our own model. Region-wise region we have to do. So more than the entire Indian culture is having uniformity, evolution. Some more areas there are gaps. So even today we are not with this world, digital world.
So,
we don't have
thank you.
uniform
So I was,
cultural
since you had mentioned the height and
so
bronze, and
there is, so we have to have our own model. Region-wise region we have to
long
do.
time back, after
So
read
more
his
than
paper on the
10,000
problem of
archaeological
tin in
sites
India,
has
that's
been
when I got
documented.
interested in this
Still,
whole question of
some
height
more
and bronze.
areas
And
there are
when
gaps.
I analyzed some of those specimens in the Chennai Museum from Nilgiris and Arichanur and found those to be of rotten quenched beta bronze. But the interesting thing, I think that is also not a closed issue that you can say that it was all imported, because see, there was a continuing tradition right until, going on even now. I mean, of course, it died out in Arichanur and found those to be of rotten quenched beta bronze. But the interesting thing, I think that is also not a closed issue that you can say that it was all imported, because see, there was a continuing tradition right until, going on even now. I mean, of course, it died out in Tamil Nadu, but also in Kerala and so on. So the fact that there's such a strong continuing tradition, and we talk about deposits, you talked about the gold, and the thing is that in the pre-modern times, you actually didn't need very large deposits for what we see as economically viable today, and what was in the past are not the same, the lens. Because even I've seen, for instance, in the Nilgiris, where there are old gold workings, and it's from there that the river gold goes into the Nilambur and all in Kerala. So you could see that the traditional Kurumbas who were actually doing some of this gold extraction from very, very almost non-existent minor amounts they are able to extract, because it is labor intensive, and they had those kinds of, and it was quite interesting that some slag that I found actually had quite a lot of tin in it, and it was from somewhere in Karnataka. And we do have Bruce Foote also mentioning that somewhere where they were doing the gold washing and all, they found some little bit of grains of tin and things like that. So I don't know, because we don't know what those alluvial deposits would have looked like in antiquity. So it is a little more complex. I think we can't rule out that there may have been some sources which have been totally worked out and things like that. So, it's a complicated thing. So I think it still remains interesting. And one specimen from Kodumanal, though, the lead isotope ratio fingerprint, though it could refer to the copper, that was very clearly Agni Gundala, which is in Andhra Pradesh. So at least we know that the copper, there was also some local probably exploitation of copper. I don't think we can always, we can just construe. And I think it is interesting, though, in the context of the working of, and the forging of iron, and certainly the height and bronze, that skill of really, really hot forging to such thin extents. So that skill, I think, is something also that you're finding in the same context. I don't think we can dismiss and say it was all imported or whatever. I think it needs a little more, understanding and studies. And that's.
Thank you. Actually, with regard to gold also, the earliest inscriptions from Kerala from Nilambur Forest only. Edakkal, Nilambur Forest. So the early settlement or early literacy or whatever we are saying, the resource zones only we are having. The early. In Kodumanal also, we are having more than 500 inscribed parts.
With him, and then we'll see what will emerge out of it. And as a result, Dorian has been working with me. You were asking me whether I'm still working with them. I'm still working with them otherwise. But the point is that particular initiation made by Dr. Chakrabarti has led to developing a chronology, firm absolute chronology for the development of Neolithic Iron Age, and so on and so forth. And we were also able to establish the fact that agriculture was not an introduction, but independent development, adopting local millets, and emerge into an agricultural society. I was also telling Ravi Mohanty while you were presenting, use the word introduction of iron. Yeah. In fact, antiquity of iron is a better term. Introduction, again, it implies that it has been brought from somewhere else.
Oh, that I will use introduction of inside only introduction of iron only, everywhere. Yeah, that is a up word.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I think these findings actually has given several important leads to look into the archaeology of the Indian subcontinent from a different perspective. The first point that emerges here is we have been focusing mainly on the Indus Valley civilization. Generally when we talk about Indian history, people only talk about Indus Valley civilization. But we have been having so many cultures, as Professor Rakesh Tiwari pointed out. There have been so many cultures emerging in different parts of India, and they need to be researched. That is the first point. Second, I think you got the date on the rice. Then also this, apart from iron, the development of rice is also another important point here. That is the second point. Third is that the multilinear cultural development. Normally we have been adopting C.J. Thompson's theory of linear model of cultural development. Somewhere I have said the Tolkappiyar's concept of 5 Thinais. Actually the model that is that we can derive from Tolkappiyar's Thinai description tells us people were in some point were involving in pastoral economy, which they call it in Mullai, in hunter-gatherers and shifting cultivation in hills, in the Kurunji areas, and fishing and other thing in the Neidal. Then we have importantly Marudam. Conventionally, we have been thinking Marudam, Thinai emerged later. Many of the Tamil scholars say that the cultural development started from the hill, went into the Marudam area. This is also again a construct like what C.J. Thompson said. This is where I argue that the Tolkappiyar's description of early South Indian society around the first 2 or 3 or 4, 5 centuries of the Common Era, it gives us a lot of lead to understand the cultural development. So we need not think that cultures always will undergo from say Stone Age to Neolithic, Neolithic to other. It is not necessary. We cannot expect a Neolithic community, a hunter-gatherer undergo the Neolithic stage. It is not necessary. Even if you look at the description of various communities in the Sangam literature, we cannot expect one community compulsory to undergo a pastoral life before leading to agriculture. So this, your evidence, gives us a lot of important leads that we need to look at the deltaic region. Especially this data comes from the region adjacent to the Tamrabarani Delta. And also we need to look for the habitation remains. Habitation remains in association with this Sivagalai, where we may get more clues. Even from your the site of Senanur, which have been excavated, surface, Parandaman told me mainly Iron Age pottery were found, but the excavation reveal a lot of Neolithic. So what is important is that we need to re-excavate the site. Sometimes what we find on the surface is misleading. So I think in that context, we need to look at the entire dates, I think they give us a lot of important lead. Also, we need to look at the social context. So we need to work at a regional level and also from the cultural continuity from the early period. As Professor Korisetter pointed out, rather than looking for diffusion, which we have been always thinking, diffusion of cultures from different regions, from Indus to here. But when we look at this evidence very carefully, that we need to look at evidence for all the cultural developments locally. Sometime in the Tamil consciousness, either they go for Kumari Kandam into the sea, or either then they go to the Indus Valley. It is true, there were elements moving, and cultural traits continuing, ideas were exchanged, flow was there. But I think we need to focus on the archaeology of India, whether it is southern India, central India, and northeastern India, all that regions we need to relook at. So in this discovery, we have several leading points emerging. How we need to look at the non-Harappan cultures in that period. I think that these are some of the points emerging. Thank you for the interesting work and important contribution. Thank you, sir.
Shall we break for lunch and after that we'll come back? Yeah, by 2:30 we can come back. Thank you very much. Again, we will continue our discussion.
Where is lunch? Lunch here? In this place?
Station. 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 Station.
அது ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்காக ஆயிடும்.
ஓகே.
So morning we had a small discussion about that how that we have got these dates and what are the implications. So there are several scholars from India. They have come here and let them express their opinion and some reservations and comments, suggestions. Anything we are most welcome, and we will like to take a corrective course in our future research, and also where we are lacking. We understand that there are iron production center has to be identified, and near iron ore areas are also has to be identified. The two different magnetite and laterite ore also has to be identified, along with archaeological site. So these are still we are lacking that type of data. So we are attempting to document all the iron slags and iron ores are available within the archaeological site. Already we prepared a map. Tomorrow I will show you that map where iron ores are there. And any other suggestions or comments that is required with regard to introduction of iron in India, we are most welcome. I will request one after another to take the yes. I will request Dr. Oh, this side. Okay, I will request Professor Ravi Moganty from Deccan College. I would like to introduce him because he is one of the senior most archaeologists from Deccan College, Pune, and he has done excellent work from the time of Mahujugari and the Nagpur area particularly. He was under S.B. Dev, and he is the man who has written on the iron also, as well as megalithic monuments of South Asia also. So I will request first Professor Ravi Moganty to take over the.
At the outset, I congratulate the state archaeology and of Tamil Nadu, and especially my friend Rajan, who has given an excellent presentation of the kind of activity or kind of the kind of evidence is emerging or has emerged recently across the subcontinent, across India, and also especially at Tamil Nadu. I'm thrilled to see the dates, and I'm very happy that if it, I always thought and believed, as our Dada sitting in front, he has been saying that the iron is our product. The beginning of iron is definitely from Indian subcontinent, especially from India, and I firmly believe that, and I have been also proposing all the time whenever I am writing and all that. But doing so also, now it comes that where do we are placed at present? Because dates are emerging, the early dates are emerging from northern India, from central India, from southern part of the India, variably within few hundred years, or maybe over 400-500 years. That's at present is definitely encouraging, but it is debatable. We need to see also that when we talk about Iron Age, that of 3rd century or third millennium, or in going back to the 4th millennium BC, we are having also like a civilization which has come up in the Western Front, which definitely have shown the cultural relationship in some way or other to the southern part of the subcontinent in material culture or kind of other evidences which are emerging. So sometimes it happens that if at all there is pan-Indian exchange and relationship, so that sometimes if this Iron Age was emerging that early, how it didn't do that much of impact to the one of the most advanced, so-called advanced civilization which were. Either we are also that not been able to properly place that earlier part of the in the civilization, or we had to see how both the evidence coming from South India, especially from Iron Age, and then Copper Bronze Age from the Western India had to be corroborated or correlated into pan-Indian cultural development as such. So there are, when you look into the evidences that are coming across the country, almost the artifacts which are coming off, they are of almost of similar nature. Whether it is carpentry tools or daggers or chisels or sickles or kind of thing. Few things which appear from the Vidarbha region probably associated with the horse is not that much well represented in other parts. But other artifacts, iron artifacts, are almost same. The concept of using the artifact is almost the same, and probably the economy should have been requiring those things. So then when you look into the other parts of economy as such, whether they are compatible to the kind of artifacts which are coming off. And then as I was talking to Rajan just now, we have, he is looking into the iron smelting furnaces, but all the sites which we have excavated, especially habitation sites, except at Naikund, which I was also there, it's a very small finding from Naikund, the iron furnace. It is not like the way that the artifacts appear in the burials could have come from that site or Nagpur region especially. None of the settlement have given the good evidence of manufacturing at the site. Probably reshaping or remodifying could have taken place because some evidence are coming. So as it is there, iron is being produced somewhere else and appearing in the settlements. So that we need to see that where from it is coming, which region it is coming places, so that we need to go more beyond the, the burial sites or, the evidence site which we have got to the production sites. I was just asking Rajan that we get such beautiful iron implements. Where are the anvils and hammer? They didn't put anywhere in the burial. That means they were not, they are not making themselves. There it is, someone else is making. And had they been making, that was the pride thing that they could have put it in the burials. We don't get them. So at this juncture, I think that we need a lot of work, and he has opened a Pandora box, and everybody, we are all thrilled to hear the kind of evidence which is emerging, but it has put a lot of expectation from the other younger generation to come up with more researches to see that how it is happening. It is not isolated happening, that in one place it happened and it isn't, then it must have happened in several places. And the technology cannot be hidden, or the implement cannot be secretively used by one community or the other. It must have been a widespread use as such. So who is making it, and who was the genius who first invented or thought of making iron smelting? And in what way he was inspired, and what was his background of, in one sudden day someone would have not been able to smelt iron. He or she, whoever he did it, must have a legacy of long tradition of understanding the metallurgy, the kind of requirement to smelt and then go ahead. So who are those people, that where they lived and how they did it? So we should be looking for more work, more evidences, and this is certainly encouraging to that. Once you have put a benchmark of that high benchmark, now it is really good to that others can look into that. If at all we have moved so far, then what are the in-between are lying in? So I congratulate the Tamil Nadu, and I am especially feel happy to hear, and I have been associated with Rajan for several decades, and that Tamil Nadu government has been encouraging archaeologists, as Dada told, that is the only state that you have fund you have a lot of fun to work and freedom to work, and you have got several of your colleagues are working very sincerely and very efficiently with all kinds of infrastructure available to them. I encourage them, and I think that future is bright in Tamil Nadu as far as the archaeology is concerned. And till Rajan is there, he will be a light of beacon or beacon light to guide everybody in the around him. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Moganty. Actually, we are aware that the technology transfer would have not isolated a micro zone. It would have been, the artisan would have been moved all around South India. We feel that it is a beginning of the Professor Ravi Moganty.
Yeah, I just have to continue what I stated earlier before lunch. In our experience of working at a number of Neolithic sites in northern part of what we call the peninsular mid-Deccan area, a large number of sites have been radiocarbon dated with the help of AMS radiocarbon dating method. We have been able to reconstruct a chronological framework for the development of early agricultural settlements, which gradually developed. And we understand that antiquity of certain technological developments may vary from site to site, from region to region. This is a distinct possibility. Based on the chronology we have established for the development of early agricultural settlements in that part of peninsular India, we have not been able to go beyond 3000 BC. We are only suggesting that the early phase of the Neolithic is likely to be older than 3000 BC, and that is a distinct possibility because whatever has been documented, both biological materials and also the chronology based on datings suitable material by AMS radiocarbon dating, we have clear information about the early exploitation of local millets. And that is the two pulses and two millets are ubiquitous across eastern and western Ghats plains. In between these western Ghats and eastern Ghats plains, and then they are all local in origin. So, as I said in the morning, it was thought that agriculture is a late development in southern Neolithic, and then crops were not produced until they were introduced from the north. From the northwest to via northern Deccan into southern India and so on. So then this particular phase of research helped us understand there is some kind of indigenous development having taken place around 3000 BC or so. One of the sites which has been dated to early part of the 3rd millennium BC is Vatgal. And there are indications that part of the settlement which has been already destroyed could be older than 2700 BC or so. And then we also see that pastoralism was an introduction into this part of peninsular South India because sheep and goat are not native to South India. And there is an argument that the cattle, the Jebu cattle, was independently domesticated across the Indian subcontinent in 3 areas: northwestern part of the subcontinent, central India, Narmada, and then southern India. But when we see the faunal record, it tells us a different story altogether. Even the cattle itself appears as a full-fledged domesticated cattle, Jebu. So we have no evidence, right since the time of Raymond Alchin. We have been looking for an evidence where we can trace the morphological change in the cattle from wild to domesticated forms. And then our dates from majority of the well-excavated sites, not only by our team, but our predecessors have contributed a great deal. We only revisited them, and we were benefited by the earlier work which was carried out. And what we have seen is most of the sites associated with the granitic landscape and also greenstone belts, they are in the time range of about 2300 BC, upwards in time, not backwards in time. So we don't have older Neolithic sites except those sites in Raichur area. And now we suspect the northeastern part of the Krishna basin within Karnataka and western part of Andhra Pradesh or Telangana we have a Mehboob Nagar district, and there are certain very great cluster of megalithic sites, and likely there are many more Neolithic sites in that area, which is least explored, and none of the sites in that area have been excavated so far. That region seems to hold key to identify the early phase of Neolithic. So in the traditional, developmental scheme formulated by Alchins is that you have Ashmount tradition, then you have phase 2 Neolithic, phase 3 Iron Age, and so on and so forth. That does not seem to hold good at all. But then some of the points raised by them still have not been found answers, excepting the fact that we are very clear that cattle, sheep, goat were introduced into it. Pastoralism was introduced into this region. And then they successfully adapted to semi-arid conditions. And then most of the settlements were on hilltop. And then we don't have a perennial drainage in the region of where these Neolithic sites are located. We have to understand, the context in which these Neolithic sites are located, because primary requirement for an agricultural economy was perennial source of water. And we found answers to this question, that there were actual very active springs in the past, 5,000 years ago or even earlier, and they sustained agricultural economy. And then the chronology that we built up based on the stratigraphic samplings that we did from a number of sites, we have begin from around 3000 BC or so. And until about 1300 BC, we have no evidence of introduction of or development of iron technology in this area. Although the sites are in the resource-rich areas, like for example, greenstone belts are excellent resources for iron, copper, even gold. Because some of the Neolithic sites, Iron Age sites further north of Bellary area are closely located with the schist belts, which are sources of gold. And we have very ancient gold working areas, associated with Iron Age and later time periods. That's why I was asking, have you found gold or not? So there is some relationship between schist belts and the early Iron Age settlements in the region north of the Tungabhadra. And in the Raichur Doab, what we call Krishna Tungabhadra Doab, there are series of gold belts mapped by Robert Brucefoot himself. That not only between these two river areas, they cut north of the Krishna and into the present Gulbarga, Yadgir region and so on. So gold resources were also points where, these early Iron Age settlements were located. So chronology tells us that this Neolithic phase 2, we could say, has a long time span in terms of about 1200 years or so, about 1300 years of time span for the Neolithic development that we see. And around 1300 BC, we see the emergence of megalithism. We have burial practices even in the Neolithic, but then these typical megalithic burials begin to appear, both monuments as well as urn burials and also sarcophagus burials. And they are associated, normally since Wheeler's excavation at Brahmagiri, it was a common understanding that Iron Age and megalithism or coeval, they developed simultaneously and so on. But here what we see is, before the emergence of iron in this particular context, we see megalithic structures there. So around 1400 BC, we see large scale manufacturing activity of cells taking place, not in the Neolithic, but in the late stages at early Iron Age, what we have designated it as pre-iron Iron Age. So typical Iron Age in southern India, where that region which I am talking to, is around 1000 BC. That is classical Iron Age in Karnataka and southwestern Andhra Pradesh area. But further east of southwestern part of Andhra Pradesh, we see iron technology having greater antiquity, like Ularao's work in Telangana region and so on. So this that's where we think that antiquity of iron varies from site to site and region to region, despite the fact that we see direct association of these Iron Age settlements with the iron ores rich. The iron ore resources in Tamil Nadu region are not as dense as we see in this part of Karnataka. So that is one reason I think that antiquity may vary from site to site and region to region. And then it is the context in which iron was produced. So for example, in the early phase of Iron Age, we see large scale production of Neolithic cells. And they were traded across a very wide network of settlements in that region, mid-southern Deccan area and so on. And then that is what we see that courses towards urbanization were laid as early as 1300 BC or so. Now, monumentalization did not take place as early as 1400 BC, but gradual expansion of trade, introduction of winter crops also played an important role, and gravity irrigation systems were developed by these late Neolithic, early Iron Age people in this part of it. The story is different there. So if we are writing the history of the Neolithic people or the development of Neolithic and Iron Age and early historic transitions, we have to have different models for different regions as a whole. So key to understanding these processes is excavation at a number of sites. Like I said, you have developed a model where we can identify sites and investigate further. But this is not happening in other parts of southern India. Unlike the support that you have received from the State Department of Archaeology and the government of Tamil Nadu, this kind of support is not forthcoming in either Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, or even Karnataka. So your success story should be an inspiration to all those who are working in other parts of southern India. Thank you.
I'm sorry that I have not introduced Professor Ravi Korishettar as a student, actually, because we are all know very for several years. And Professor Ravi Korishettar is formerly a professor in the Department of Archaeology and Karnataka University, Dharwad. And he was also frequently visit Cambridge University and under Dorian Fuller. Together, they are working for longer period of time as an authority in Neolithic culture, and he established an excellent museum at Sanganakallu. That is, everyone has to visit and see that museum. So, as he rightly pointed out, he has given a very good broad picture about the Neolithic culture of Karnataka, and when related to Ash Mound also. But in the case of Tamil Nadu, as you are well aware, we don't have Ash Mound. So that is what he is emphasizing, that every region has to be micro-region level. You have to study thoroughly and then you have to come to a conclusion. So every region is different and every subsistence pattern is different. The ecological zone is different. So putting a common umbrella for the entire Indian subcontinent is not fair also. It is not advisable also. So that is what he is emphasizing in his speeches. Thank you very much, Professor Ravi. I will request Dr. Arjun Rao, now presently working in Central University, Karnataka, and he is extensively working on rock art, and also now he has taken up in Nilagiri, Blue Mountain, and also he is associated with several projects. I would request to express his views. Thank you.
Well, thank you for such an introduction. Well, after Professor Ravi Korishettar has given such a broader view of Neolithic archaeology of Karnataka, so I don't think I have much to speak in regional specific. At the outset, I should really congratulate, or we have to congratulate, the State Archaeology Department of Tamil Nadu and Government of Karnataka. Through Professor K. Rajan, that they have taken a very tremendous work, and it takes a lot of efforts and intensive funding and timing as well. So Professor Rajan has now kept a data between science and the social science. I think he has just brought such a huge and intensive data, which can be, it can be, and here, as it was also pointed out, that the improvised technology in dating methodologies, it could be different types of radiometric date, including the AMS-14. So the dating technologies have been much more accurate and intensified. And on the other hand, when it comes to the usage of these dating methods, I think this is really a very good trend setting that has come from the state of Tamil Nadu on the significance of questioning of when. This question of the dates on the iron is coming from a group of artifacts, associated artifacts, and it makes us also try to understand the social aspect of this group of artifacts, including the centered picture that is iron. So when such a date has brought in for discussion between, I mean, which can be understood both scientifically as well as social science way, especially the societal aspects, the social aspects, beyond the economy or political theories that is existing. So the political theory, that existing political theory on megaliths or the iron is something which is much more, hierarchical way of theorization. But here is a date which can go beyond trying to understand this hierarchical theories as well. Now, iron, which is going it is in the borders of third millennium to the fourth millennium. At one side, you have lithic using societies or lithic technologies. On the other hand, there is iron technologies. So it is extremely important to understand the provenance, which can tell us the story of both of these aspects, the social aspects as well as the technological aspects. So I think that this antiquity of dates, the pushing of antiquity of dates will inaugurate much more discussion even on understanding the provenance, including the distinction between the habitational sites and megalithic sites. And in between, there is something called the workshop sites or iron smelting sites or furnace sites. So more and more provenance studies associated, especially the sites which have given the oldest dates, will give more and more social understanding. So this is my one level of understanding from what I have seen or what I have understood from the series of presentations from here and all. So at the outset, congratulations. It's a tremendous work. It is very, it includes a lot of intensive efforts to do this work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Arjun. Professor Cherian is supposed to leave, so he's having some sort of time. I apologize, Dr. Shellakumar. The student, Professor Cherian, is formerly chairman of Kerala Council of Historical Research. And he is the man first to open a huge habitation mound at Pattanam in Kerala. And it has opened a new Pandora box, actually, how this international trade operated in Kerala, or particularly the entire West Coast. And this is one of the known ancient port of early historic period. And initially, we actually, I am also one of the co-director for that initial period, and we know that we have started at a low level when we have started, but after when we are getting artifacts, then it really exposed the total scenario of the Kerala. Normally, Kerala people used to say there is no habitation mode. But there are several sites now coming up, and Dr. Rajesh is working, and other people are working. I do hope that in future several such sites will integrate the ancient trade route also, because Professor Chakravarti has come long back here to identify only the ancient trade routes. So I moved along with him all the national highways, what we call it, the ancient highways. So we went up to Kerala and we came back, and he also expressed that why that Kerala is still not doing that work. But after that, the Kerala has done a wonderful job on that. I request Professor Cherian to speak on this iron. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rajan, for the kind words you spoke about Kerala, and also from talking about the absolute. And we're so happy Dilip Chakravarti sir rightly said, see, what you have done and what you have showed is logistically and scientifically very normal. And even if contradictions that Rajan repeatedly said, we will engage it. But I think this is a good thing for the nation to happen. I said this because provokingly you said about Pattanam. For the last 10 years, nothing is happening there. Every year I was an applicant. What is it? It is the gateway of India to the world. 40 cultures came here. And nobody is interested. But for your commissioner and I making an attempt, I saw that day how the Tamil culture is different. That is why the reason that I got my 10th season permission. But for Tamil Nadu, this would not have gone ahead. It is not Tamil Nadu, it is the Indian nation that is getting lost out of this kind of things. So that you have brought out the greatness of this region, especially with regard to the exposure. In both sides, we are having sea. So naturally, we were exposed to the Homo sapiens across the world. When did we become Indians? When did we become Tamils? You sometimes ask, even in the Neolithic period, we were Tamils? Even the prehistoric period? So, especially it is very happy to see that so many young students are around to recognize that they have not only a great past, but going further extends our horizons of thinking and become people with a lot of anbu, unmai, patru and pagatharvu. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. Now I request Dr. Selvakumar, he is personally working as in the Tamil University, Tanjavur, and our colleague. And in the case of Tamil Nadu, we work together. Okay, whether it is in a different institution or not, we used to work together. And we used to support him also. He also supports academically Tamil Nadu State Archaeology Department. We believe that going hand in hand, we can move forward with so much of strength. I would request Dr. Selvakumar to make his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have already made some of the points in the morning. I would like to add a few more points here. First of all, I would like to thank and congratulate the government of Tamil Nadu for taking so much interest in archaeology, which is not happening in many parts of India. As you know, the socio-economic and political context helps and influences archaeological research. I think the Tamil Nadu government has rightly invested a lot of resources in order to reconstruct the history of this region more scientifically. Earlier, we used to struggle to get even single radiocarbon dates, and Tamil Nadu government has really contributed a lot for scientific dating. And also the Department of Archaeology, under the right leadership, and also with the support of all the young archaeologists, they have taken initiatives, and Professor Rajan has given the right leadership in taking this work to another level. I would like to congratulate all the Professor Rajan and Dr. Sivanandam and all the team members who are involved. As far as this finding is concerned, I think it's very important. Now, we have important findings from the site of Sivagalai. And then we have several other important findings from the site of Adichanallur. So if we can take up this region from a regional perspective, like what Professor Ravi Korisetter said about the development of Neolithic, how they have reconstructed the development of the southern Neolithic and got dates, I think maybe you can choose more site in this region. I think Sivagalai is a little away from the Tamrabarani or Purunai river. So probably it is not in a very deltaic context. It is a little out in the highland, I guess. So if at all they had cultivated rice, and they must have done it in closer to the riverine area. As you know, Tamrabarani is a very dynamic river. Frequent flooding destroys the deposit. I don't know whether you will be able to find sites. There could be habitation sites. So we should move from this site horizontally and vertically. Horizontally, we should work in the broader region of Tamrabarani, where earlier scholars have suggested about coastal migration to Tamrabarani region. There is one theory stated, I think A.V. Soundararajan and other people earlier said there was some migration to coastal, through coast to the Tamrabarani delta. So that constitutes as one of the important area where we need to look at the entire Tamrabarani valley, not just surface survey, more detailed excavation. Another thing is, if at all this iron technology comes, it comes as a sequence of pyrotechnology, how people were working on ceramics. Scholars have said metal technology is a byproduct of ceramic technology. They are experimenting with ceramic firing over a period of time. Accidentally, some of the ore got melted and they are experimenting. So we need to reconstruct the ceramic tradition of this area, this region. How, when exactly ceramics was introduced, and if you give at least 3-4 centuries after the introduction of ceramic technology over a period, then iron could have come. That is one area. Second is rice. As already pointed out, I pointed out in the morning, also Arjun pointed out, we need to look at the entire assemblage of associated findings, especially rice. We have rice, evidence of rice or paddy rice husk, where that rice has come, whether it is domesticated or whether it is wild, what is its variety. If at all, if they had cultivated rice, we are talking about an agro-pastoral society where, which gives a social context for the rise of megaliths. Even Udayaravi Murthy and Professor Mohanty and Brubaker, several people have studied megalithic society where they argue the society was in the level of ranked society or chiefdom-based society. Now scholars are critical that we cannot have old typology like band, chiefdom and tribe, state and all. But still, if you are having such kind of complex development of iron, what was the social context of iron? What was the social context of rice and all that entire assemblage associated with the iron that needs to be researched, for which I would suggest some more sites, habitation sites in the area. We have to identify the potential habitation site associated with Sivagalai and also with the site of Adichanallur. I think that is where we are going to achieve more. So over a period of time, if you undertake some, you can take it as a 10 or 20 years of project, selecting and identifying key sites, and if we can reconstruct, I would not say evolution, cultural development over a period of time, say 3500 BC, what really happened. We have evidence of microlithic using communities, hill people were there. Sri Lanka, they claim that there have been, these hunter-gatherer communities living, and these people also, you have a lot of other resources in this area, especially marine shell. Marine shells have been exploited from this region. We need to really find out how far this, this tradition goes back. So if we can take a broader region and select at least 5-6 habitation sites and excavate, I think we will be able to understand the cultural development. So as in archaeology, we suggest the regional survey and regional approach for cultural development that can help us to answer many questions. It is earlier we always used to look north or look west for the movement of culture. We used to think that megalithic people moved from, migrated from west, and similarly Alchin and other scholars, even Shankalia pointed out the similarities between southern Neolithic vessel form and Iranian formers. I think we need, this finding makes us to relook at the cultural developments, and also as Professor Badaya often points out, that we need to look at the area beyond the Harappan civilization. So in several aspects, I think this finding is very important. I think we need to ask more questions. Only by raising more questions and looking at things critically, knowledge progresses. But I think it is a very important find at this time. I would like to again congratulate Tamil Nadu State Government, Tamil Nadu State Archaeology Department, Professor Rajan and other entire team of Tamil Nadu State Archaeology. Thank you. As we have done, we will definitely collaborate in future. And I will also try to contribute whatever I can in this initiative. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Already the government of Tamil Nadu has directed me to give a perspective plan. So I am giving every region, not district, every region we are planning to go and survey the document. So I have told that every region is required 3 years. So naturally there are 12 or 13 regions are there. So within 30 years, 25 to 30 years, we are planning to document the entire archaeological vestiges. So the picture may emerge after that also, but it will take minimum, according to what I have told them, it will require minimum about 25 years. But still, somewhere we have to begin. So already Pudukkottai region, we have submitted the report. After seeing the report only, they requested for the entire Tamil Nadu. So we are doing so, and once the fund is coming, then we will do that one. And next one is that thank you very much for your cooperation, and also always extending the helping hand to Tamil Nadu State Archaeology. Another helping hand comes from Professor Santipatpu. Actually, when we are sending a proposal, there was a lot of pressure on us. Once you take one prehistory, one Neolithic, one early historic, one historic, chronologically, and one take northern part, one takes western part, one takes southern and mid part, and because none of the region should be left out. For that purpose only we are planning accordingly, or the excavation program is also going accordingly. So Dr. Santipatpu is associated with us for Neolithic, and also yes, we have done together a lot of exploration in Dharmaburi and the Krishnagiri region, and she is the only who has changed the perspective of the prehistory and carrying the date back to million years, to 1.7 million years ago. So on behalf of all this august body, I congratulate them once again her for taking a prehistory back forward. So for me, she has given the date, but for me, 1,70,000 years, 1.7 million years history we have to reconstruct, because the first man appeared in this land. So it is a big chronological gaps are there that I think slowly our younger generation will fill the gap. I hand over the mic to Dr. Santipatpu.
Thank you. First of all, I want to congratulate all of you, Professor Rajan, Dr. Shivanandan, entire State Department of Tamil Nadu Government, Commissioner. This is a very rare meeting. To get together to discuss such path-breaking results is something I have not seen this. So I think this is, firstly, it's really wonderful that you have published this book and brought it open for discussion. So that is to be commended. And you are willing to accept all sorts of opinions. That is also something I have very rarely seen. We know when we first came out and published our dates, not only the 1.7 but also the Middle Paleolithic in Science and Nature, there was obviously a lot of debate and a lot of controversy that how can it be so old. But we were absolutely sure of our colleagues who had dated the site, and we were sure of the archaeology, and so we proceeded with full confidence. So this is somewhat similar. that there will always be, when you get something out of the box, there will always be discussion. So why is this so important is that for the first time, as everyone has said before me, the Tamil Nadu government has laid so much emphasis on archaeology, putting money, not just talking about culture, but putting money where it should be put. And emphasizing that they will send as many samples as you want for dating. Actually, without dates, we can't really talk. So this is what they have done. And that is why you see this book with so many dates. Now, the debate about the dates, now this time period is not my expertise. So for me to comment would be really presumptuous. I cannot. But all I can say is the implications are mind-boggling. Not only in terms of the implications on the technology of iron, for which you have Sharda here and other experts, implications for the antiquities, implications for nomenclature in India. What do we call our cultural phases? This is the time now to have such debates on talking about terminology. And I think that's really important. Obviously, these sites, I think you have done, the region has been very well surveyed already. And you already have excavations more than any other state in India. So the data is being generated, and whether it is going to be confirmed or debated, that is for the future. It's not my position to say anything on this. And what I would just like to conclude is that this work is something which is really high impact, deserves very high impact publications, and I really look forward to seeing where it goes. It's absolutely fascinating, and even though we are, as Sir says, in deep Stone Age and working with completely boring hand axes and cleavers, this is very exciting for us to think about. And you have brought a new perspective, new vision, and more than anything, new dynamism and enthusiasm of the young scholars, all your young officers. They are so, it's inspiring to talk to them for us when they are so proud of what they have done and their discoveries and their results. So more than that, it's not my expertise. I can't comment, but I can really appreciate and congratulate your entire team. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we will moving from archaeologist to scientist. And Professor Sharda Srinivasan is right now here. And she is now working in ISTRAD and Bangalore. And she is was so young. In 1980, she came to our department with Professor Ian Glover. She was doing at the time PhD program in the Institute of Archaeology, London. And she was, when we discovered that tiger figurine, she wanted to take the sample for that time. So from that time onwards till today, we are having a close relationship, the academic relationship. And she is extensively helping us to not only in Merul Sirvalur, and Kodumanal steel, and also Adichanallur, Sivagalai, height in bronzes, all that is helping us. So I would request Professor Sharda Srinivasan to say a few words. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you so much. Of course, it is, as several people mentioned in the morning, it is quite an emotional moment indeed. And as Dr. Rajan mentioned, he was one of my early mentors, as he has been to many people here. And so a very hearty congratulations to all the team and to you, sir, for all the success. And it's been wonderful to hear from all the other distinguished colleagues here who've also been part of this journey of, throwing greater light on Indian antiquities. So I think it's really collective feeling. And I was also remembering, of course, I think in the 2009 World of Iron, when there were some of those early dates coming from Dr. Rakesh Tiwari, who was here, and Vibha Tripathi, closer to about 1700 or so BC. And there were these questions being mentioned that in the case of India, these are all, individual dates. So you can't really, say something until much more systematic has been done with several more dates. And that I think is really where, as has been mentioned, we should really complement the vision in terms of the Tamil Nadu support for archaeology in this very systematic way, which has enabled so many of these dates to come out. And it's also quite emotional because when I was starting out, when Dr. Rajan was saying, at that time, everybody, of course, knew the Chola bronzes of South India. But believe it or not, that was really where they thought South Indian metallurgy is basically Chola bronzes. And even now, I think that is still the predominant idea. And even, for instance, when I talk about, now that I talk quite a lot about the heightened bronzes and so on, people are just really very, very surprised. Also because that material, I think, has not come much to international attention and things like that. And as had been mentioned here, when I began also, and I remember also, of course, Dr. Dilip Chakravarti and other experts, and with Dr. Ian Glover, I mean, we always, it would have been assumed that, there were a couple of these odd, finds like, as done by Breeks of heightened bronze from the Nilgiri cairns, or like, for instance, Marshall finding crucible steel at Taxila, but all very random. So the most systematic study of all that is something which has been much more recent. And I think, of course, at Kodumanal, where we found, both the evidence for high carbon steel and heightened bronze again, that was, again, very interesting. So that is when we began to feel that there is something going on which is, much earlier, and as he pointed out. And what is, I think, quite interesting, of course, with, as we were discussing earlier with Dr. Ravi Mohanty and so on, and of course what Professor Kori Shetter was also saying, what you're seeing with the Harappan material, of course, it's an urban civilization and so on, and so of course that question does arise that if you are talking about such early dates for iron metallurgy, where is the real evidence for other kinds of technological developments along that same way? Because it does seem like it is going from the Neolithic into the Iron Age or whatever. But of course, if there was not that much copper, then the tools that they would have been using, or the metals that would have been smelted would have been iron. Of course, one idea is, was it the Indus, some of the Indus metallurgists moving there and so on, or was it, but when you, the other aspect, of course, is that, and I think when you talk about metallurgy, we have to remember even today, the communities that are really carrying on these traditions are really the most marginalized. I see that, as I mentioned, the Kurumbas who are doing the mining for gold, real traces, and then of course you have the Agarias, and you have the Asurs doing iron smelting, the Kotas, again it's indigenous community or whatever, and the Nilgiris doing blacksmithy. So it is also a legacy of these kinds of communities. So to assume that it was happening only in the urbanized context, maybe there were these kind of itinerant or migrant, communities who carried on the legacy of metallurgy and so on. So then we could understand how, because iron technology is quite sophisticated, it needs very high temperatures, maybe higher than copper smelting. And generally it's been regarded, at least in the Western context and so on, that it came about as a byproduct of copper smelting, because when you do copper smelting at high enough temperatures, then some metallic iron forms. And I also find that that's the case with a lot of the copper slags I've looked at also in the Indian context, that the droplets of metallic iron just form because of the high temperatures of the furnace, because the iron is there as an impurity and so on. So whether that was the mechanism by which it happened here, or whether there was, so there are, of course, as has been mentioned, a lot of very interesting questions. But it is intriguing also that there is some kind of connection here in the kinds of shapes. They do recall so much to the stone adzes and things like that, what you're finding at Mailadumparai. So that in terms of transition from, let's say, the stone to the iron tool, so that does make it somewhat more plausible that it is a local development which is happening. Even at Telanganur, you're seeing that they almost look like the stone cells are becoming the iron cells and so on. So, and that I also find quite intriguing about the heightened bronze material, that the ceramic tradition is so well developed in Arichanur, the urns and everything, the wheel turn ceramics. And the heightened bronze vessels are also very well shaped and all that. So you can see the influence of the ceramic tradition there. So I don't think it is totally removed that way. And even the workshop that I visited in Kerala, they were actually using hand lathes to turn those vessels and things like that. So there was obviously, that connection that we see in those urn burials, with the using very high skills of wheel turning and so on, and then being able to fashion vessels like that. So it seems more, it is not out of place to see it as part of, that larger context. I don't think we necessarily need to say that it was imported just because, the first question needn't be, about the oars and all that, if it does fit in with the general, technological milieu. So in that sense, I think also with the iron, what we're seeing, it's not totally, it's not implausible, this gradual transition from the Neolithic to Iron Age or whatever, in that sense, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Shada Srinivasan. I think Dr. Yeah. So, thank you very much. Now Professor K.P. Rao, former professor from the Department of History, University of Hyderabad. Still I am remembering in Chittoor district, when we move on his scooter, going to the medieval land, all these places we have done together when he was in a lecturer in the Tirupati Venkateshwara University, and we used to go for field work in Chittoor district. So from that day onwards, we are still working together, and we do hope that in future also we are planning to associate with him, because he is going to excavate Bedavegi, for which Tamil Nadu government is supporting financially, and we are planning to send our all archival officers to associate with him to learn. Beyond Tamil Nadu, you have to learn. From Harappan site, we are planning to send. So that way I request Professor K.P. Rao to say a few words about him.
Thank you very much, Professor Rajan. Now it is very clear that the early dates for iron, stretching back to the early centuries of 4th millennium BC, are scientifically established. So now the dates need not be doubted or anything. So this has several other implications also. That is, we have to actually see this development in a larger perspective, both geographically as well as culturally. Geographically, as you all know, usually the Chalcolithic culture in peninsular India is confined more to the western part, and in eastern parts of peninsular India it was almost absent. And culturally. So this geographical and cultural, if we see this in the context of these early iron dates, and apart from that, in most of the megalithic sites excavated, especially from Andhra, of course, this Vidarbha region, Maharashtra region, the scene is different, but from Andhra Pradesh especially, most of the megalithic sites have yielded rich iron, etc., but copper is almost absent. Many important sites like Nagarjuna-konda or Yeleswaram or many other sites, Chagaturu and all. In most of the megalithic sites, very surprisingly, copper is absent. So the absence of this Chalcolithic culture and this other evidence probably suggests that iron had early beginning, and that was the reason why they did not concentrate on copper technology, and of course the scarcity of the material also could have been one of the reasons. But in this context also, we have to see this recent evidence of early dates for iron. And also, in most of the sites, we usually come across very developed iron tools and weapons, very well shaped, very well made. very evolved kind of iron material. So earlier I was all the time wondering, how is that without much of this showing this developmental phase, we are getting this highly sophisticated kind of material. So now it seems we are getting more and more clues suggesting that iron had very early beginning in this region, and maybe in this few millennia or so. By that time, the other sites which have given dates like 1000 BC, 800 BC, 500 BC, etc. In this context, then it appears these sites are slightly late megalithic sites, we can say. It was almost in the transitional phase of the early historic period. So these things, in a larger context also, we have to examine this occurrence of early iron in South India, from Tamil Nadu as well as from other regions. And also I would like to take this opportunity to make one important suggestion, and as it is very impressive or remarkable that the Tamil Nadu government is showing so much interest and giving so much money and encouragement to do this archaeological work. So I would like to make one suggestion that maybe Tamil Nadu may show the way to the nation by establishing something like cultural center or a small museum-like thing in each and every village, because each and every village has so many this cultural material lying here and there, and maybe in the nearby areas there are many monuments also. Usually, many times what happens, since the villagers or the local people do not know what is the importance of this material, it many times gets destroyed or neglected, and many times the megaliths are removed, etc. So if we create some kind of awareness in the people, some kind of pride that this is our possession, this is our cultural possession of the village. So the Tamil Nadu government may show the way to the nation, and Professor Dilip Chakravarti is here. So maybe he might impress upon the Indian government to initiate such program to see so that the cultural wealth of the nation is not destroyed. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sometimes we feel that archaeological survey lift the survey. So that is the way we are moving forward. But of course, it is a good suggestion that preserving the cultural wealth of each village, each settlement. Thank you very much for your suggestion. And one ray of hope for Kerala. I used to be very worried in a long time that there is no people are coming forward to take up archaeology of Kerala. Thanks that he is having a team. Rajesh and Prita Nair and Avya and all the people are there, and you might be aware of that. He is bringing an excellent journal, that heritage. I do hope that it will continue for a longer period of time, because in the South India we don't have a good journal in English. So that way, I once again I thank for bringing this journal. I request Dr. Rajesh to speak about.
First of all, what to speak? That's the biggest problem. Anyway, I would like to congratulate the Tamil Nadu State Archaeology Department first, because till 2015, I was always comparing Kerala State Archaeology Department and Tamil Nadu State Archaeology Department. They are like almost like, mainly the universities were working in Tamil Nadu and they were in the limelight. Then after 2015, there was a sudden change happened. Then means now they are appointing a lot of youngsters into the State Department of Archaeology. Lot of excavations are conducting. Lot of publications, not only in English, in regional language also. So that is actually a welcoming thing, and the government is creating lot of site museums for funding, like pumping fund like anything. That's a very interesting thing. And another interesting thing is that I am mainly working on the industrialization, and I always found it's very sad that means whatever we are getting in Tamil Nadu, always people used to try to connect it with Indus. But now it is very interesting thing that, okay, that's iron, at least in the iron case, means, and now we can say that, okay, at least there is a simultaneous kind of change or means development is happening in this region. And we have, now SARS told that, okay, we are getting iron, it is not one piece. We are getting iron in 2000, many dates are there. And it shows that it is, this not, it started not in 2500 or somewhere, because you are getting steel almost in the same time period. So we might think that, okay, it might be happening many years before, many centuries before, and also now we need to look into the technologies, like means how the bead drilling technology changed. Then means, was it the same kind the Harappans were doing, or it was different, and this kind of beads were exporting to other places? Or is it like one of the causes which led to the decline of the Indus, like the collapse of the trade? So we need to look into many of the aspects like this thing, that also the making of glass when it started in South India, and that is another way vista we need to look into. Then also ceramic technology. When it, in this area, when it developed, and those kind of things we need to look. And regarding the, at the same time, I have to talk about my state also, because in Kerala means, this megalithic archaeology started somewhere in 1819, that is almost 205 years before. And if you go for an excavation permission, ASI asks, why you want to excavate in Kerala? There are many megalithic sites are excavated. Now if you look, there are less than 5 excavation reports are there. Some, I think, specialized article less than 25 on megaliths, then less than 15 C14 dates. Around 1,500 megalithic monuments or sites reported. Sometimes one megalithic monument is considered as one megalithic site or something like that. Not a single habitation site was reported till last month, because now Professor Selvakumar and KCHR team is excavating a habitation site there. So means we are and also means in 2002, when I was a student, I was seeing or listening one of the presentations by Professor K. Rajan. He was showing the kind of village to village surveys happened in Tamil Nadu and how they were collecting the data. Actually, now we are in that process only. We are almost, if you compare Kerala and Tamil Nadu, we are almost 25 years behind Tamil Nadu in case of at least in this kind of studies. So I think that the kind of support the government of Tamil Nadu giving to Tamil Nadu state should actually extend to other states. Also because we can't see Tamil Nadu in isolation. Because once we can join our hands together, we can work more and we can find more results. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Rajesh. And now we are having Dr. Mortegi from Birwal Sakani Institute of Paleosciences. When we sent a sample to him and he has given the date, and we both discussed to disclose or not to disclose, whether reliable or not reliable. This type of discussion was going on. Then we are so much worried about the dates actually. Normally people should be happy to when they get dates. But then we discussed, and I discussed what to do now. What is the next step? Okay, beta we got. Then he himself came forward and told that no problem. We will go to another laboratory. I will take up Dr. Naveen Chauhan from PRL. I will send the same sample from BSIP to PRL. From there we will get the date. After that we will decide whether it is reliable or not. So that way he extended his helping hand. I will ask him to express a few words about the OSL dating.
Thank you, sir. Also, it's very nice to work with the team. It was we feel more academic activity. So we were involved in dating the pottery. So radiocarbon ages are based on the rice grains that was in the pot. And then we were actually dating the pottery using luminescent dating method. First of all, the material is not very straightforward. It has a one high temperature feldspar that is called cyanidine in the sample that makes the signal very unstable. So we need to correct back. So if I follow a straightforward procedure, I would have got a very underestimated age. So we got underestimated age, we low age, younger age. Then we understand using XRD. So we did many supporting data to understand the sample first. And then that's why you could have seen in the report, it is the OSL ages from both PSIP as well as PRL are tentative and provisional. So our next task is to make it final. So not only PRL, like Dr. Naveen Chauhan is here to support, and then also we send the samples to ICER Kolkata to make potassium, because not only luminescence, but also the radioactive elements also important for luminescent dating method. So we are getting now consistent numbers, but when we go back to lab, today also one number will come, I think. So we'll go back and then finalize the age. That's our immediate task. Also, at this point, I would like to mention about something because all the radiocarbon ages are coming from a commercial provider. So we pay and then they give that age. Also, maybe a small percentage of chance for mistake, but that need to be rectified. So what I'm saying is, I am saying for one reason. Recently, we are working in Himalaya. We did the same sample using OSL as well as radiocarbon. Radiocarbon was overestimated by 2000 years for the 12 samples consistently in Himalayan crystalline rock terrain. Radiocarbon age normally can be overestimated in a carbonaceous rock terrain because it suffered by hard water effect, because it incorporated the geological carbon into the sample that overestimate. But the sample we were working on in crystalline rock, there is no carbonaceous rock, but still it was overestimated by 2000 years. We didn't know what was the reason. So we measured N-alkane data, lipid profile data we measured, and then also we did Raman spectroscopy. We found our old organic carbon came into the system that was in a graphite form. So my point is, unless we collaborate with the expert, we will never understand, because they, like for example, if you send the sample to me for money, then I would have charged money for it, and then the age will be final. We will not have a communication. So I think it is better to have one carbon dynamics expert in our team to validate it. So that's my one suggestion. It may be, we may all, and also one positive news is all the ages are correct, consistent. It may be a systematic offset or correct. If you rule out that possibility of overestimation, then I think we are fine. Thank you.
That is what we expected from the scientist, because corrective course of action is more required, and we will accept it. And when, as you said that we are look forward that also. That's why when I discussed with you, Dr. Naveen Chauhan, and also he is very helpful for us, and he is sending his own research scholar to our excavation site, and we collected the sample from there, from Dharmapuri, near Dharmapuri, Chennanur archaeological site, and that process is in progress. And we do hope that when we are getting a series of dates, as he rightly pointed out, that we may come to a conclusion. Till that time, we will keep this is on a suspended platform, so that, but whatever the problem which we are facing as a Tamil Nadu state archaeology, when you are public money, when you have spent some amount of money from the public money, when you are getting a result, at least you expose the result. Let us have an academic debate on it. Then we can, anything goes wrong, then we will take a course correction. So that is the major reason for presenting this entire data in front of you and also the printed matter, so that if whatever the suggestion is coming, we will take course correction. I would request Dr. Naveen Chauhan to make his comment.
Thank you, first of all, Dr. Rajan, for inviting me here and involving me in the team. And these are really an interesting findings, actually. And when Murthy asked me that there are some pottery samples are to be dated, and they are to be like from Tamil Nadu region, I was not aware how much implication it can have. We were following our routine methodologies. But then some interesting challenges, as Murthy said, that fading rate was so high, and a lot of corrections we have to do in the process. And in the process, we learned how the things are evolving. We tried several new methodologies in this sample, so we could estimate the dates to some extent. But still, some more corrections are needed. That's why, as Murthy suggested, that these are the tentative ages, these are not the accurate ages still. So we are going on the process. Having understood the implication of these results, I can see that if the results are all right and correct, then whole history has to be rewritten in Indian context at least. So here I think we need a bit of caution also, okay, so that it's not like we correct back later, and once it's written, it's always difficult to correct it later. People will oppose it always because it's written now. So it's better to verify through multiple channels how we can make these numbers very much confident or very much pakka, okay, solid numbers. Some of the suggestion which I would like to give is we have dated 1 or 2 pot shreds. It's better that from a contemporary site, if some other, or from the same site also, if 2 or 3 pots are available, it's better that we find out the dates for those pots also. Also, luminescence is not only the dating of the heating event. It can date the light resetting event also. So if a sediment if some contemporary sediment depositions you can find, okay, this is the time when this civilization was active, this sediment is deposited, we can date those sediment. And in the sediment, the benefit is, as in case of pottery, we are getting cyanidine. In case of sediment, we will be getting the quartz, which is more reliable material in every context. So we will be very much perfect in our numbers in that context. So these are the corrective measures. Again, coming to the C14 dating, as Murthy suggested, it's always better to have an expert involved. So in this context, luminescence, we both are taking care of the things. But in case of carbon-14 dating, it will be best that's a scientist who is actually technical expert, who can be brought to the site and he sample himself and then date that sample. So it is always best at least 2-3 sample he did. Then obviously beta analytic results are there, but those 2-3 samples, if he can confirm, they will be it will be very solid work. Nobody can question after those things. Then from in PRL, we have one colleague, Amjad, I can discuss with him. Or other IUSC people are also there, they are also doing, so we can have a discussion with them also. So these 2-3 people can be approached who are continuously involved in such activities. Another important, it's from civilizations. I am involved in several Harappan sites, Dhaneti also, Dholavira also, or then this Bhagat Rao Koti something was there. So what I have observed it, obviously we are having a tool technology here, but why the ages are almost similar there also, here also, 3000 more, less than 3000. Why we are not getting the transfer of technology from here to those sites? It's coming very late there. So is it there is not at all interaction among the people? And if there is an interaction, obviously there should be a transfer of the technology in that case. So whatever technology was existing, like bead technology or the Bengal technology, which was existing in the western Kutch region, Lothal or Dholavira side, it should have come to here also. So are we finding those things? I am not aware of those things, so maybe it's a lame question. But I think that perspective should also need to be explored in this perspective. So these are some of my suggestions. I hope it's okay.
Thank you very much for the word of caution. That is more important to us also. That's why we used to send the sample to the Inter-University Accelerator Center and Beta Analytic, PRL and BSIP. But even then, before, when I used to get the advice from my Department of Earth Science, Pondicherry University. You must be knowing Prem. So, yeah, I used to go to him only because I am not expert in radiocarbon dating. So, our Professor Balakrishnan, you must be aware of him. So, I used to go to them only. Whether how much corrections to be carried out. Then normally they also suggest instead of one laboratory, you go to this laboratory. All that he will suggest. So in future also, we will keep this also in mind. This is very, very important for us. Because as you write, yeah. Very difficult to correct later, but still I strongly believe that I am writing a Bhagavad Gita, that I cannot change it. I will always open to any type of suggestions, any corrections, I will accept honestly. How I am accepting this one is honestly, the same way I will accept honestly. There are only two experts has to comment. One is Professor Alok Kannangu, and he is also associated with that us, and he is working on glass technology. You must be well aware of it. And when I got that material from Sivagalai, as an archaeologist, that looks like a very well polished ceramic. Then I doubted. Then only I sent to him, and he has done XRF analysis. Then sent back the result, and now it is hide in bronze only. So before going to we never go to media first. But I am having a tendency now, I will not go to media first, because I will go to academicians first. That is more important to me rather than going to the media. That way, after that, our concluding remarks, our Pida Andi we will do, and our Guruji. For me at Cambridge University, he will make the remarks. I would request Dr. Alok Kannangu to comment on it.
Thank you, Professor Rajan. First of all, I take this opportunity to congratulate Professor Rajan, Sivanthan, and their well-organized PNHD office, which has a very well-organized, safe, and very ideal people there. And not to forget Madam Bhagyalakshmi Madam. Whoever have met her, you would know how organized they are. The office itself is organized. And it's happening to see Tamil Nadu government first supports the scientific probe of the archaeological finds, then brings expert to the Tamil Nadu State Archaeology for the debate, then publishes the work, and finally puts the claim in social media, not the other way around. That's something very heartening to see. You get into social media in the end, not first to social media, which is the case in many other cases. Looking at the glass making and working in South India, what I have seen for last 25 years, that's another pyrotechnology, a excellent pyrotechnology, because glass requires you to run the furnace in a specific temperature for 15 days. And the iron requires you a high temperature pyrotechnology. Looking at how glass making, working, and Indo-Pacific bead had prospered in South India, I'm not surprised looking at the antiquity of iron being much earlier in South India than other part of the subcontinent age of now. And identifying the early furnaces is certainly a challenge, because most of the furnaces in India are made of clay. And every time the smithy himself breaks that furnace to create another furnace on the top of that, because the smithy are not the rich people. Let it be glass, let it be copper, let it be iron. Even if you go to traditional makers today, they will make the furnace, break the furnace, remove the metal, then make that again another furnace on the top of that after 6 months or so. Every 6 months they will keep on shifting. So you getting a earthly furnace is something a challenge. If people have observed traditional furnaces, they would be able to look at it little better than us. And then furnace engineering is, now comes a point here, why you had variety of furnaces. Looked at Kerala, you had these blast furnaces. Look at this side, you had these bloomery furnaces. And those can easily be found from the microstructures of the iron making. Then more important is not that iron were being made in mid 3rd millennium BC here, but for whom were they making? Iron itself is a high pyrotechnology. The people who are working for them to make this iron must be comparatively highly paid. How would the society support that? For whom were they making? If you need to know that, then you need to look at diffusion. For where this iron were going. As of now, we are happy that we have 3rd millennium BC iron in Tamil Nadu. It is more important to see how far Tamil Nadu iron have been exported or people have, with the culture content, have taken it. It would have to be exported. It is certainly a commercial items. And since we haven't got much ingots and furnaces here, it is more important at this point of time to analyze all the iron finds here for their microstructure, for their imaging, for their hardness, and more of elemental composition and isotopic signature. Once we make that of all the sites, whatever site, possible sites, put the database on where whoever excavates in rest part of the world would be able to compare their material to our material the way the glass people started making Roman, then we started comparing that. The database was first created by Roman. If we can create a bigger database of scientific analysis of the iron, specifically the raw material used and the isotopic signature of the impurity in the iron and the local raw material, put that on the type, then in the down the line, we would certainly know, because it is impossible for us to go all around the world and excavate and get the material. Nobody sends the material for analysis. Since it is your excavation, if you carry out all the analysis and put it as a database, then whoever excavates, let it be France, let it be Sri Lanka, they could compare and say if it is a Tamil Nadu iron or no. That will help us much more, I would say. So isotopic signature and elemental composition are probably the must. And another thing is that making AMS date of the artifacts itself, which we have carried out in few pieces, maybe more pieces are required. And since you said in some cases you do not get the core, as you had given me some sample, I couldn't get the core. These days, dating of bones are very reliable. People are getting, so you might have got some bone with the Neolithic phase, which you can date them. Earlier, we used to only date the carbon or charcoal. Now, bone, cell, everything is datable with the AMS. And as Sar said rightly, it's now a bigger research question is Vindhyan range. Why copper didn't come to this side? Why iron knowledge didn't go to that side? It hasn't gone, or we haven't studied. There is every possibility that we might not have studied. And it's not a secret, it's a very open secret that in many Harappan sites too, people got iron, but those irons were not taken care of, considering it will, then people will doubt the Harappan. And that you yourself have, I think, come across it local, that if those iron would have been studied, maybe that would have given a different result. We do not know. That might be a medieval iron or Harappan iron, but many of the Harappan sites, also Balathal has given so much of iron, but Professor Mishra took it a very constructed basis. No, all the iron are of earliest period. Professor Mahanti is here, he will be the better person to do. But many of the Chalcolithic and Harappan sites also have welded iron. Only thing we thought it is of different stratigraphy, though they were of different stratigraphy. And then comes the last, rather I would say, is the early evidences, what you said, those are dated to 2500 BCE. But the object what you showed is the host sword. The sword making would require a 500 year of R&D to reach to the sword from the prill. For an example, we all the time say coppers are of 4000 BCE, whereas the prills comes from 6000 BCE from Ergar. If that transition from a prill to making a sword which requires a proper forging, you put easily 500 years, so why should then we not accept the fact that knowledge of iron, smelting iron, is a early 3rd millennium BC, why put it in the mid 3rd millennium? Though you have 3 dates, you yourself hold it, but then the 2500 BC, almost all the thing you are showing is sword. Sword making is a very different technology altogether from the prill. Okay, thank you for this, and a small announcement that probably we will have another opportunity to discuss more about iron is we are organizing a history, science, technology of Indian metal and metallurgy in January 2026. Looking forward.
Yeah, very good, but only the collective wisdom is that archaeologically you have dated and scientifically a word of caution is required. So that we will take care of it. Even when I found a glass bead making furnace in Purundal, I contacted him. He says that it is not a production center, but it is a polishing furnace. So don't use the word production, better use the word polishing. So from that day onwards, I am using only a polishing furnace. So scientist word of caution is more important to us, and we will take to the heart, and also in future we will take care of these issues also. Time is up, where people, tea is waiting. We will have a small national seminar. I am planning, so we will have more people. We can bring it, and we can discuss it threadbar, and we will work on it.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that if you can just do Bayesian chronology, because that's not really been done much for Indian sites, and that has a lot of international credibility. I think that would be very important to get the Bayesian chronology done for the radio car.
Yeah, it is very important point, because whatever we bring the dates, international credibility is required. But for me, your word is more important. Whether I lost the credibility here itself, I need not to go to the international second. So for me, your words, because I believe my all Indian scientists are better than even international scientists. That is, I am not having second thought in that. Let them give their opportunity. Let them come up with their own data. We will threadbar, we can discuss and debate and disagree also. There is no issue at all. So I finally, as a concluding remark, I would request our Guruji, Professor Dilip Kumar Chakraborty.
Thank you, Professor Rajan. This seminar has turned out to be far more interesting than I thought it would be. Wonderful seminar on the whole. I personally have learned a lot from it, one thing, and I'm sure all of you have found things of your interest here. If seminars like this can go on happening in our subject, the subject will prosper very rapidly. There's the satisfaction this old man is carrying with him. Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Rajan, especially, and all your team. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, one and all. We will meet again tomorrow at 10 o'clock here. Okay? Thank you. We will having a small presentation about our archaeology and historical atlas. So the same type of criticism I expect. So that will enhance our quality of the map. So we will present about half an hour. After that, we can discuss upon that. So we will break with lunch. Thank you. Thank you. Now we can leave for our hotel. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Long
All.